So what do you think has kept Moose and Squirrel so popular over
55 years, a long time. Well, I think as my dad always said, he never wrote for children. He always just wrote for adults, and his theory was the little kids would get the funny-looking characters and the great voices. And the teenagers would get some of the jokes and wonder why their parents were laughing so hard, because he was writing for them. And I think that's why we're here.
Was it also reflected his sense of humor? Was he writing for himself, too?
Sure. I mean, all that was part of, I remember all the writers would come in and pitch their stories to my dad, and he'd laugh throughout the whole thing, and then at the end he'd say, nope, not funny enough, go back. No, he'd go, not funny enough, go back and make it funnier. So, I mean, everything marched to the studio to his particular sense of timing, visuals, although he hated the animation that was done offshore. And he directed, he was like the ringleader of circus. Everything went through him, and he had his stamp on it.
Do you remember what he was inspired by as a kid? Were there certain comedians or comedy teams that he particularly liked?
Oh yeah, he loved Buster Keaton, Laurel and Hardy, and there's another one. What is his name? I can see him.
Howard Lloyd?
Howard Lloyd.
There we go.
There you go. So, and actually, he went and got old film clips, and he did, and we've lost the rights because they weren't renewed. He did,
Fractured Flickers?
Well, Fractured Flickers was different, but he had actually done documentaries, or I don't know if you call it that wasn't a documentary, it was a humorous look at Buster Keaton. And the other two.
Yeah,
and we've lost the rights, so nobody will see those, unfortunately.
Do you see a similarity between Rocky and Bullwinkle with they're not Laurel and Hardy?
No.
No. So I think they're kind of unique. I can't think of a connection.
Well, he came back from Harvard Business School.
Oh.
After the war to Berkeley, where he was brought up, and he said to his childhood friend that I think there's this new medium called television. I want to create something for television. So that was Crusader Rabbit. Now, if you look at Crusader Rabbit, we've got a small, spunky, smarter rabbit and a tall,
dumb tiger.
So again, even though that worked as the first show, he didn't keep the rights. I think Rocky and Bullwinkle, we've got the small and the big and the dumber and the thing, but it's much. Well, it's years later too, much smarter.
Yeah.
In the clip, it referred to, why has he been, why has Fearless Leader been chasing us for all of these years? That was a cool solution you put in, but is part of that because you didn't think any of the new audience would remember the Cold War? And why there were Russians and all those other things?
Well, I mean, in the old episodes, Fearless Leader was very hot and cold on them anyway.
Right.
Because one day he'd want to kill them, next day he wouldn't care, and he just wants to steal the Obsidian mine,
right.
or whatever. So he was a little inconsistent himself. So we felt kind of safe to
It's a shame you couldn't Roger Rabbit it and see that his advisor was Wile E. Coyote.
Now we're
Now you're mixing.
I'm
sorry. That was one of my dad's concepts: is you don't mix my characters with other characters.
We were feeling nervous about putting Dudley Do-Right in there.
Yeah. I love seeing those guys.
Yeah. Well, yes, but that's something we didn't do before either.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so they did ask, "Is it okay?" And I said, "Yeah, this
invited
case."
to the wedding.
Yeah. I mean, that seems fine.
My favorite line is Snidely Whiplash's line, where he just, I'm a guess.
Yeah.
That's the biggest laugh that line has got.
Yeah.
Yes, that's great.
Because we showed it a few times, for like the studio. We played it at Annecy and well, Annecy they're not that familiar with the characters.
Right.
So, but yeah, this is the best reaction that one's got. So.
Well, go please.
Is the overall reaction to them being dimensional characters now visually been positive? Or, have been, generally when you take something from an old format to a new one, you have people say, but you changed the
Yeah,
classic.
overall it's been positive. Before people see it, they're like, why would you do that? Why would you make them through 3D? And you better not fuck it up. And usually I'm going to say almost always people have been pretty happy with how it's looked. It's like, oh, you pulled it off. That looked pretty good. I'm kind of surprised, And from industry people, from like people over there who are tough critics, from other animators, people who love the old stuff. So, yeah, I mean, we're our own toughest critics usually.
As a media sponsor for SIGGRAPH and for NAB for going through, what I liked about the way you did it is after about 10 seconds of watching it, you are now watching the new version. You weren't comparison. Yeah, the very first scene, you always do that brain compare with where did it come from, but then it basically took, so it was acceptable, and then you basically went in that way.
And that's back to the writing, back to the.
So that was a great job.
What was your challenges in taking this classic character who has not been out of the mainstream and out of for a while, and bringing it up for the people who aren't as old as I am?
That's actually the basic challenge right there.
Right,
That
yeah.
was,
Tell me how you did it, yeah.
well, I mean, it almost goes back to your first question, you know, why these guys again? It's like, when we were kids, we liked them, and I don't think anybody who ever saw them as a kid ever forgot them. Bringing them into the 21st century, you know, you could do another Rocky and Bullwinkle episode that would look like an old Rocky and Bullwinkle episode. How do you update it but still keep the heart and the spirit and, you know, the same characters? Yeah, that was the question, and I think having a love and an affection for it rather than just being assigned, okay, here's your job, you got to do Rocky and Bullwinkle. Right? Well, if you don't feel one way or another about it, you're not going to really care. If you care about it, if you had a connection to it, then yeah, then you've got an eye on what it was, what it has to be, but still keep an eye on the future, you know, where you want to go with it.
I was delighted that you didn't change them the way I felt Mr. Peabody was changed. I thought Mr. Peabody was made more, in quotes, accessible. And I was delighted to see that Rocky and Bullwinkle remained Rocky and Bullwinkle. And again, was that a choice? Was there any studio thing saying we have to change the dynamic?
We had kind of the luxury of, since we're still in a short, in the short format, what generally happens at the studios is when they take something, particularly a short thing, and expand it into a feature, they say, well, we don't think it's sustainable, so you're going to have a learning curve and a character arc and all this stuff. And I like it more. I mean, when short characters act like short characters. And for me, it would be more of a challenge to bring somebody like Rocky and Bullwinkle into a feature format than to bring them into the 21st century. You know, to like keep them faithful to who they are and the property, what it is, but still satisfy the needs and the wants of studios and studio audiences.
Was there a knowing technique you used in the animation and in your direction to maintain the look from the 2 to the 3?
A known technique?
Oh, not a known technique, but was there a way? Was there a moment during the production where you went, okay, we got it, we broke the back of this, we know what we're going to do to make it work?
No, it was never that. It
No,
wasn't that cut and dried. It was because some characters
The
were
eureka
easier than
moment.
others.
Yeah,
You know, like
yeah.
Boris was for some reason kind of an easy one to work out.
He's human.
Yeah, and he's some very basic shapes.
Yes.
His face is is right there. It's a little bit of questions like how do his legs connect under that coat?
I've always wondered that.
But Bullwinkle was a little tougher, and Rocky's like the size of the tail, and what is that doing? And so there were questions. Some of them had more push and pull than others.
Yeah.
Can you talk about the cast? Because you got June back for Rocky and then Tom Kenny for Bullwinkle. Can you talk about what it was like working with June again and then in this iconic role of hers, and then how you got Tom to do Bullwinkle?
I think we're good. I mean, we put open an open call for everybody except June. That we're doing Rocky and Bullwinkle, we're looking for sound-alikes, we're looking for people who are familiar with these characters and can do them, and there's a number of them out there. So it was a real casting call where people would submit tapes, or they came in and read for us, and then we would just listen without looking at the names or the photos or anything like that. Just listen to them back to back. It's like, that sounds like Boris. Who's that? And so that was how that process went. And it was, I mean, they seemed to have fun. I know Tom had a great time.
He wanted to do that.
Yeah, he was a kick also.
Yeah.
Most voice actors are. Most of them are, you know, like kind of,
They're actors.
yeah. But voice actors in particular,
Yeah.
the ones that just do voices.
Right.
I had a writer once describe them as like a box full of puppies. They're always on, and they're always like the most adorable in the room. And,
So do you have, either of you talking about the future now, once this one is done? You've got the next episode named. Are there plans afoot for the future?
We have an option on a Rocky and Bullwinkle movie, but we don't have any definite plans yet on
Right.
something like a short or a TV series.
Okay,
I had a question.
we have hopes.
We have hopes, great hopes,
which we share.
yes.
So you had an interesting music selection and music references in this, I'm sure. The Lady Gaga and the fine poetry pieces we're going through. How did that selection process
Those
kind
were
of?
from Tom and Ben. They said, you know, the romance, you know, this disastrous romance, maybe with Bad Romance by Gaga, and we went, okay,
Yeah.
that sounds funny. And then the poetry corner, same thing. We had a different poetry corner joke, and it just wasn't playing that good. It was kind of up. It was like on top of spaghetti or something.
Yeah.
It felt like a rehash of the old stuff. Can we try a new one? They turned it around. Like, okay, next day, try this one. It's like, that's funny.
Yeah.
So the wedding song, that was, you know, we picked that out because we just felt it was the most inappropriate song to have at a wedding party ever. So, beyond that, yeah. But Tom and Ben were great at the music stuff.
It's great because they're all fans of Rocky and
Yeah.
Bullwinkle. It's great when
They
they.
were hilarious.
They were hilarious.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Can you talk a little bit, this is a big overarching question, about the legacy of these characters and what they mean to each of you personally?
Well, that's going to be different for the two
you
of us.
Yes.
Who you want first?
Whoever wants to go first.
Okay, okay, well, I mean, obviously, I'm
Right.
the daughter of Jay Ward. I've been the caretaker now, running the business for 25 years, so they're like brothers and sisters almost, because I was quite young when they came aboard, and, you know, people always go, oh, you're Bullwinkle's sister. I'm not sure when I was insecure and a teenager, that did not really
He's adopted.
make me feel good. So I've been living with them a long time, and they're just, but I really think of my dad more than just the characters, that I listen to what he used to say, and I try to follow that.
Did you ever do Rocky's voice?
No.
I think you could.
Yeah, well, that was a concept early on, and my dad said, when I was really young, no, she's not going to be in show business. Show business is tough, you know.
Yeah. All right, Gary, your turn.
Like what Rocky and Bullwinkle
Mean to you.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I grew up with it. It was, well, I mean, it started in '59. I was born in '60. But, you know, when I was 64, 65, I was already watching it, and it stayed on TV for years after that. Yeah. I mean, it even made a resurgence in like '86 or something like that. So, I mean, I was familiar with it and loved it from the start. Despite the work that I've done in features, I have always loved shorts, and that was why I got into animation in the first place, was the Rocky and Bullwinkle and Bugs Bunny. It was those two camps that put me into the animation field, and Terry Gilliam, you know, because that was kind of a life-changing thing. So you could do that. So, but that was always like one of the foundation things that I grew up with, and got into features for a while, and, you know, worked there for a while, and features have been good to me. And when I had the chance to do shorts again, it was like, you know, it was like a light one. I was like, oh yeah, this is why I got in this business. This is, you know,
Nice.
that's the fun stuff. My agent / lawyer wants me to get back into features, just because, you know, that's where the big prestige and, you know, all that is. But this makes me happy. So.
Oh, that's important.
Yeah.
That's important.
What are you doing with non-canon characters and a lot of the one-offs like Quist, Quake, those others that aren't part of the Rocky and Bullwinkle canon?
Chris Quake and Captain Crutch. Captain Crutch is my dad.
Yeah.
Are owned by Quaker Oats. So they came with cereal and said, we have nothing for you. We want you to create everything. So they created everything, did the commercials for, what, 22 years or something. But then when they stopped, they own the copyrights on those characters, so nothing. We're doing nothing.
Any chance of having them bring it back?
Well, I mean, Captain Crunch is still one of the best-selling cereals in the world, and they occasionally bring back Wisp and Quake for a, you know, like a year or something. As far as commercials, I mean, we're no longer an animation house. Dad used to do all the commercials, so I don't think they'd come back to DreamWorks to do the commercials. So,
You got anything lined up?
I remember the Quisp and Quake contest.
yes, yes.
Like I said, I'm hoping for the Rocky and Bullwinkle. It's that's far enough on the horizon that that's not what I'm right now. Possibly a Christmas special or something with Olivia, the little pig. The studio has to decide if they want a Christmas special, or if they want to make it into a feature, if they want to do a TV series. That's still kind of brewing right now, but it's at least, you know, circling. Currently, I'm working on theme parks. So
Oh, great. Excellent.
DreamWorks has got into the theme park business,
Smart.
and I've done a bunch of Shrek stuff. So
Nice.
I'm helping design and write Shrek rides.
Excellent.
Great, and that was the final question.
Hey.
Thank you all
Thank
very
you.
much.